All right, you guys. I will be coming on screen in just a moment. I am just trying to figure out why does my freaking thing keep going off? Like that really annoys me. That my scroller text is like off. Ugh, that annoys me. Just something about it annoys me. Okay, yeah, there we go. And let me fix this other one. Copyright. Okay, yeah. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope you guys are doing extremely well. Let me bring this down a little bit. All right, I think my ADD will allow that to be okay. So listen, you guys, you see up on the screen that I have the picture of the cast of Baby Reindeer, and I want to talk about this Netflix special and also talk about the recent Piers Morgan interview with the woman who was saying she is the real person that this true story is based on. And we're going to get into a little bit about the show if you haven't seen it, and I'm going to give my opinion about what I took away from it, how it made me feel watching it, and if I think it's worth checking out if you haven't. Okay, so hold on a second. Leave him alone. He ain't bothering you. He is finally in his little hammock, and you can leave him alone. Those are the executive producers, of course. All right. All right, you guys. The stream looks good. Let me go ahead and pop open this camera. I'm working off a daylight, you guys, so it might not be as bright as it needs to be, but I'm not turning no lights on because it is daylight outside. Where's my camera? There it is. Boom. All right. It's not that bad. Okay. It's not that bad. You guys might hear my air on. You may or may not, because I'm literally like it's like right there. Well, that's not true. It's close. I'm sitting in front of it. So if you hear some air blowing, it's because I have the air on, and it'll probably go on and off. Anyway, let's get into this craziness that is this Netflix series. And it's 7 episodes. I just want to get that right out the way. So it is a series. It's 7 episodes. It is this British series. And here's the thing, I like British TV shows and movies. I just think they do a great job of telling stories, and they're very detailed, and dialogue is very important to the British when they are doing movies, honey. A dialogue and understanding a story is so important to them, and I appreciate that in so many different ways. But this is no different. Okay, so in a minute I am going to get into who the character is, or I should say the players of this story, and how it all unravels. Okay, so let me open up this other screen. All right, so let's just for a moment, this woman here, because it's very important. Let me get her up a little bit more. It's very important to understand that this woman did an interview on the Piers Morgan show to plead her case about this series that is out, saying that she was a serial stalker, mentally deranged, and just some of the torment that she put this person to, that happens to be a man, and for years. And it's really deep. Okay, this I'm just going to say story, or this depiction of this man's life. I think that's a better way to describe it, because he's telling his story of what happened between him and this woman and some other things in his life. And he tells his story from an extremely vulnerable position. Okay, it's really that kind of like, even if there is, not even if there is as with everything in Hollywood, a lot of fantasy. There is embellishment because they want to sell. They want to sell, right? So, how much of this is 100% accurate? Who knows? But I do feel like, based on how this man has been kind of setting this thing up for years, that there is some documentation that he has lived these things and that he has been talking about these things for a while, and that now it got turned into a docu-series on Netflix, and we are talking about Baby Reindeer. So the woman on the screen here, her name is Martha. Well, her name is not Martha. It's Fiona Harvey. We're going to get it. Yeah, Fiona Harvey. Okay. And she's Martha. And we'll get into who Martha is for those of you who don't know. So Martha is the primary character of this story that this British comedian is telling, where he is saying that this woman stalked him in a way in which it is crazy. This is the actress that plays her, and I want to scroll up and get to this here. So it says, who is the real Martha Scott? That's the name of the character. It's her from the Netflix Baby Reindeer. Online sleuths tracked down Fiona Harvey, who just gave an interview to Piers Morgan saying, I'm the victim. So will she sue Richard Gadd? So Richard Gadd is the British comedian who is telling the story, who is saying that this woman stalked him for years. And I want to be very clear. This whole series is unraveling mental health in ways in which that is really putting a magnifying glass on it. And you guys know I love watching true crime, court cases, interrogations, and things of that nature. But because I really feel like all of it has a mental health issue element to it. But this story is just like, whoa. It's like, whoa. I want to be very clear and just say this right out open without dragging it on. Do I feel like this is something that people should watch? Yes. However, if you are easily triggered by gaslighting, abusive behavior, being misled, and things of that nature, then I would say no. If you've been in situations where you've been abused mentally by someone, like I said, gaslighting them, love bombing them, just being led on, or if you are dealing with any type of mental imbalance, then I would say no. Don't watch it because it triggers a lot of boxes. Okay, a lot of boxes. But for me, it was excellent. It is, for me, worth all of the bragging and talking and whispers and hype that it is getting. It's written amazingly. Like I said, the British people don't play when it comes to telling the stories. Okay, they're very big on dialogue, very big on articulating a story and painting a picture for you. And this is no different. It paints a picture, baby. And from the minute it comes on to the minute it goes off, you're just like, oh, you, it keeps you engaged. There's never a like a dry moment. There's never a pocket where there isn't something that's happening that has you engaged. It is definitely something that you will make you stop whatever you're doing and pay attention to what is going on, because it is just that good. This man, oh, it's allergy season, you guys. This man and whoever helped him get this together, with the editing and the story and the writing and the script, mwah, any award that it wins, it deserves, because this thing is no joke. It is no joke. And this man is saying that this happened to him. All right. So it goes. It says, by now, almost everyone has heard of Netflix's hit Baby Reindeer, based on Richard Gadd's real life stalking ordeal, but it virtually has caused netizens? No. Let's see how that word is pronounced. Hold on. Let me hear it. Let me hear how this word is pronounced.
Netizens to attempt to track down the people depicted.
Okay, it says netizens. Okay. To attempt to track down the people depicted. That's a new word for me. Hold on. Let's learn something. That's a new word for me. It's described as an individual who is actively. Hold on, let me open that up. I got my window kind of closed. Okay. This is described as an individual who actively seeks to contribute to a development of the internet. Okay. Netizens are not individuals who go online for personal gain or profit, but instead actively seek to make the internet a better place. I don't know about if that's the word I would use, but okay. To depict the track down the people depicted. Again, I wouldn't use that word to describe. That's stalking and doxing and whatever. Scotswoman Fiona Harvey claimed she inspired stalker Martha Stewart in the show and recently went on Piers Morgan to defend herself, saying she plans to sue the show's creator. I'm gonna tell you something, honey. That interview was very hard to watch. I hope that the I hope that the people over at the Behavior Panel channel, I hope that Pierce Morgan and them will give them the okay to use that video to depict it and to give their opinion on it, because I'd love to hear what they have to say about it. But Pierce Morgan is he's annoying and he is self-righteous, and I say that because he only wants to hear his side of his opinion being shared and agreed upon, and that's just how I perceive the way he puts himself out there when he does his panels and whatnot. So anyway, he cuts people off. He's very rude. It goes on to say, and I'm not going to read this whole thing, but it goes on to say that Netflix's Baby Reindeer gripped audiences with the story of Donnie Don, an aspiring comedian who is stalked by a woman after he shows her a moment of kindness in the pub where he works. The series, which is based on the real life experience of its writer and lead actor Richard God, was met with rave reviews for its honest depiction of stalking and abuse, earning a 98% score on Rotten Tomatoes, according to Google Trends. Okay, I don't care about all that. What I do want to say is this: for this, sometimes the best person to tell your story is you, right? And it's I will say it's heroic for this man to play this role and relive this story and be able to do it in a way where you feel for him, even when there's moments of times of decision making that he does where you be like, you're making that decision like you are wholeheartedly putting yourself in danger. No one's forcing you to do it. You are wholeheartedly putting yourself in danger. But even while that's happening, you still feel like, damn, you know, if he wasn't broken, he wouldn't make these decisions. That literally puts him in harm's way. And for him to relive that and depict that, is the way it comes off. It's like, I don't know who else could have played this role but him. So anyway, the woman who was on the show, that her character name is Martha, the internet found this woman. They found the woman who is the stalker, or who some of this information in the Netflix series is being depicted, and she's saying that a lot of it isn't true. And Piers Morgan, his take on it was, at the end of the day, that he really, really, really feels the point that he's pushing hard in his interview and his follow up about his interview was that Netflix dropped the ball. Like, they should have done everything within their power to make sure that if this was based on a true story, that everybody, all the parties should have been protected. That, you know, while we understand you want to try to get a character to match the people who you're trying to depict, um, there were some things that they could have safeguarded to protect this woman, because even though allegedly she caused this man a lot of strife and he indulged in a lot of it, um, they literally left breadcrumbs out there that led the internet to find her. And so now she's like, I'm going to sue him because there's so much of this information that is not true. And for Piers Morgan, what he was saying was, well, hey, and at this moment, spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about parts of the show. So if you haven't seen it, I would say come out of this video, go watch the series, and then come back. But saying things like, she went to jail for 9 months. She was convicted. She went to jail for 9 months. She admitted to all the wrongdoing. That she had been in prison or had been imprisoned and on probation previously for the same type of thing. Stuff like that. If you're going to say that it is a true story versus it's based off of a true story, because if you say something is based off of a true story, you can play around a little bit. And then you want to put that disclaimer out there about, the parties, the blah, blah, blah. Now, I don't remember no disclaimer out on this Netflix series about, the parties of this may reflect the da da da. No, they didn't put that up there at all. And they kept saying on each episode, this is a true story. Not that it's based on a true story. This is a true story. Maybe over in Britain you can play around with wordplay. I don't know. But Piers Morgan seems to be very agitated that Netflix did not do their due diligence. And more importantly, that they're pushing this narrative that this is a true story, which is hyping this up so much more. And he feels some type of way about it. And my thing is this. It's a movie. It's a series. Everybody who knows that when they start writing scripts and stuff like that, they embellish. They want to make a character a little more this or whatever. And it's like it is what it is. But if the source material that it comes from is more of it than not, I'm not really sure why Piers Morgan has his panties in a bunch. Now, I understand why this woman might be upset, because if in fact there is some allegations being made that's just not true, it is what it is. But she does admit to knowing him. She does admit to knowing about the whole baby reindeer. This woman, Fiona, says she definitely did call him that. She gave him that nickname. She admits to some things, but she denies a lot of the big things that drag this on. But for me, why now? Why now start doing interviews saying I'm innocent, I'm a victim? Well, because now he's making money off of it. See, it was different when he was just doing it on the road, doing it for like comedy, or just I wouldn't say comedy, but he's supposed to be a comedian. Not funny, but he was telling a lot of the story, and it had been recorded online. And I feel like why not come out then and sue him for defamation of character? Why wait till he sells the story to Netflix and they do what people do when they tell stories and put them on for people's entertainment? They embellish. But instead she's on Piers Morgan, where she should have been, and she didn't. She should have been on Piers Morgan with her attorney, and she wasn't. I didn't hear her saying that she was suing Netflix and suing him for defamation of character. Like, I didn't hear her saying that. I heard her saying that a lot of the things that was said weren't true, that it was fabricated, that, she had been found out and things of that nature, and that she had been speaking to one of her lawyer friends, and they were telling her that they were giving her a roundabout ballpark amount of money that he might be making off of this. And she seemed very agitated with the female actress that portrayed her. And I'm gonna tell y'all real talk, she was giving me that character from Misery. She's giving me that vibe. And this man, if he even experienced a pinch of what he shares in this Netflix series, it was more than enough for him to share. Um, so so she's been outed. They found her. The internet found her. And like I said, Piers Morgan feels some type of way about it. Piers Morgan tells her in an interview, so basically you're saying that Netflix is lying on you. My whole thing is, I don't know why he kept pushing Netflix. The same that I've said before. Netflix is just a company that allows people to put their projects on their streaming platforms, just like a YouTube. YouTube gives you a place to come and put your content. The only difference is that Netflix will buy certain projects in order to have original content on their streaming. But he seemed to be very fixated with Netflix being the problem versus this individual taking this story and selling it to Netflix. So it goes on here to say Harvey claimed that she was prepared to go to court to defend herself against allegations made in the series. When Morgan asked if she will categorically be taking legal action, she replied absolutely against both of them, GAD and Netflix. I didn't hear her say that. Harvey said she had instructed lawyers in part, but we want to explore all the options out there. There are a number of people to sue. During the interview, Harvey referenced a scene in the show where character Martha admits to omitting Gad's character and received a 9-month prison sentence. This is completely untrue. Very, very defamatory to me. Very career damaging. My whole thing is career damaging how? Because she has some type of law degree. And when Piers asked her about that, it gets very tongue salad, very tongue tennis, back and forth, just avoiding the question, acting as if she didn't understand what he was asking her. And to me, it just kind of shed light on some other questionable things about her behavior in her interview. She goes, that is completely untrue. Okay, I wanted to rebut that completely on this show. I am not a stalker. I have not been to jail. I've not got injunctions. It is complete nonsense. So that is what she was saying. So she said a lot of things. She was very weird and awkward to watch. To be honest with you, to watch her speaking in real time, I think they actually held back on the character, because the actress and the way they displayed her didn't display her speech and her behavior the way she presented herself on this interview. Now, I have not seen her but on one interview, so I don't know if she was nervous or not. She seemed pretty composed for the most part, but she did have some tics that were kind of like, if this is her normal way of speaking, this is not something that they put in the character development, and had they done it, it would have just added more fuel to the fire, right? There was something, though, that I found very intriguing, and it was the fact that she was very agitated about the actress that portrayed her not looking like her, being younger than her, which I was like, what's the problem with that? But they made her look older. She was like, her accent is not like my accent. She was offended that Piers Morgan said that the woman kind of favored her, and she just was like, that is not a compliment, it's a backhanded compliment. She was just focused on some of the weirdest things, in the show. He states that Richard Gadd states that she basically sexually assaulted him. It's definitely, if you know that you can watch certain things that won't trigger you, I would say watch it, because when it gets time for award season, he's going to clean up. And I feel like I don't, Pierce asked her, did Netflix reach out to you? And she goes like, no, nobody reached out to me. Um, but in the Netflix series, it is reported that she sent him like when I say excessive amount of emails, they were talking about like up in the 5 digit range, like 41,000 emails or something over a course of I think 2 years. Um, she was harassing his parents, and at some point he was recording her, and he was listening to these recordings. He became so obsessed with her that he became using her as a fetish to get off to him. It was just weird, and it was weird in a way that it does explore mental health and how people become dependent on their abusers, and how you can become um, you can become engulfed and become in a relationship with people who are abusing you, mentally and physically, because of your own dysfunctions. And that is something he sheds a huge magnifying glass on, and it's about himself. And so for me, it wasn't really about whether or not she had written 41,000 emails. I could give a damn about that. If she had just sent him 100 emails, if what is in those emails, if they have copies of those emails, it is what it is. Um, what's interesting is he says that he recorded these conversations and he would listen to her voicemails, and this actress basically had to revoice whatever was on these voicemails. And for me, the only thing Netflix to me would have to be worried about is if she does try to sue because they didn't do their due diligence to find out if these things were true. Um, he would have to have shown emails. He would have to have shown that he had went to the police, and he half asked you to try to report her. Um, it boils down to, at some point, he's saying that after she just kept threatening his family, his parents, that then he went full-fledged and filed a full complaint against her, and that because she had already had a record of threatening the police and stalking someone else and going to jail, that this was something they were able to arrest her on, threatening his family and then going to jail. So if you say that this is a true story, then you know that should be proved. And she's saying that none of that happened. She's saying she's never been to jail and has never had any of these issues. And so I do question, if that isn't true, why add that in there? Like, what would be the purpose of that? If everything he's saying happened to him happened, then there has to be how this whole situation ended, how it got to the point where he was able to get rid of her. And that's what we want to know. Like, how did you get rid of her? Now, unless they got some sick twisted shit where they come back and say that they come with a second part of it and say like all of that was in his mind, because he has used drugs excessively. He has been tripping and doing some things. He is not mentally healthy. And so, I mean, they might have something in the can where in his mind he was hoping that that's how it ended, that she would go to jail. And maybe it's like, nah, they ain't even finished with the story yet. They just gave us the first season of 7 episodes, and we end up finding out, surprise bitches, this was him just tripping and hoping that this was how it would end, so that he would be able to move on with life and have closure. But in reality, it ended a different way, and then we find out what that is. Another thing that he says that happened to him is that she came into the bar after having been banned from this bar, his workplace, and she assaulted him with like a glass cup or something, and nobody called the police. Like, none of this was reported. The company that he worked for didn't want to report it because they were supposed to have managers on site when it happened, and there weren't any managers on site because they was out bullshitting, and they didn't want to be sued or lose their jobs and all this other stuff. So it's like, as it gets deeper into the story and you start to find out, like, when there's supposed to be a pocket of time when she does leave him alone, that he is now yearning for her to be reaching out to him, because she's become such a part of his life and giving him this purpose of having this person that's constantly checking on him, even though she's like 5150. The minute that it stops, he doesn't know how to behave. He does not know how to function. And so then he starts to have this sexual addiction to her, and fantasizing about her, and masturbating to the idea of her, as his stalker. And so it's a trip. So I think that she might be jumping the gun doing these interviews, because the way it ended, it could very well have a second part to it, and it could be the true him telling the truth of how it actually ended. And she just thought, oh, this is how he decided to try to present this, and they lied. Well, if they using it as a fantasy, or him fabricating it through an idea or a dream of this is how he hoped it happened, then can nobody sue him, because it's not over. And that's what I'm wondering if they're trying to do. If that's why Netflix isn't tripping. Netflix hasn't put out no statements. This actor, comedian Richard Gadd hasn't put out any statements. He's not acknowledging this woman at all, which he shouldn't. Because if, like I said, if any of this is true about how she latched onto him and what she did to him, if any of it is true, then I wouldn't feed the troll either. I wouldn't feed the troll either. I would, again, I was surprised she didn't come on there with attorneys. I'm surprised that she didn't have the information saying, yes, she is already in the process of suing them. There's a lot of stuff about her just saying her going on the Piers Morgan show was a way of her getting back intertwined with him. And if she is in fact 5150 like that, I'm quite sure he should have some type of restraining order on her, and I'm quite sure all of that is so easy to find out. Piers Morgan and his team could have did their due diligence to find out whether or not she had been arrested, and maybe they just didn't pull the trigger on it because they already kind of know that there's another part of this coming out in Netflix, and they just don't want to alert her or whatever. Anyway, definitely give it 10 stars. Definitely give it a star. I couldn't watch it a second time. I couldn't go back and watch it. It's very heavy. To watch it once was enough. It was heavy, but it was well done. It was well written. It was everything about it was pretty freaking amazing in its warped, disgusting, disturbing, mentally triggering way. It was a great watch. So anyway, yeah, you guys let me know if you've seen it, what you think about it what you thought about it down in the comments, what you think about their interaction and the way he told the story, and what do you guys think about her being found on the internet. And did they find her, or did she want to be found? Did she put herself out there to be found? And if she was so concerned about her identity, why go on Piers Morgan? What do you guys think about that? Yeah, go ahead and sound off down in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys later.